And we are live. Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party, your weekly musical happy hour. This is the show where we get together with artists that we love and listen to old records, albums that have been out for a while and have started to grow into something different than what originally was intended. I am one of the co-hosts, Anthony Ihrig. My other co-host, Ellen Stanley, a.k.a. Mother Banjo, is on a well-deserved vacation today, but we are very lucky to have in the studio with us today the one, the only, Mr. Derek Johnson, everybody. Won't you give it up for Derek? Wow, Derek,
please.
They are really excited to be here.
They are excited.
Wow. And we've got some friends in the house, folks. We got Connie in Richfield. Hey, Connie, great to see you. Our good friend Severin, staying up late in Germany. Severin,
wow,
thank you so much. A big fan of Derek's, I know. And Wiley saying happy Friday from Virginia. Oh. Indeed. Happy Friday, everybody. It's so good to be here. We made it another week. As this is a happy hour, if you're out having a happy hour drink or snack, let us know where you are, what you're having. I'm enjoying a hazy little IPA in my Back Catalog Listening Party pint glass. Derek, what about you today on this fine Friday afternoon?
I'm going for some good old-fashioned Minneapolis tap water.
Oh, extra fluoride.
Yeah, extra chlorine and extra fluoride.
I love a good glass of Minneapolis tap water. Well, cheers, Derek, and cheers to everybody else out there. We are so happy that you're here to join us for this special episode of the program. And for anybody who's tuning in from the land of 10,000 lakes, they probably know from Minnesota, they probably know Derek Johnson from the band Monroe Crossing, one of the longest running bluegrass bands in this region. They tour the world. He's been everywhere. His face is right up front and center, playing guitar, singing songs for everybody. But there's a lot of other things that Derek does, and he's got a very interesting past. He's been he's played other styles of music and done all those things. So for folks who don't know you, Derek, and don't know your background, could you give people a little brief bio of how you got kind of started with music and how you got into this style of music, and then really just where this album fits in? Sure.
Okay. Well, I'm 55 years now, old now, so this might take a while.
You can just do the high level.
Okay.
The high level.
Well,
overview.
I just always loved music when I was a kid. Loved singing. Did the choirs. Had to take piano lessons when I was a kid, but I really loved it. But I just could not wait until that day I could get a guitar. So about 13 years old, got some cheap Sears electric guitar. Had older neighbors next door who had like all the rock and roll band gear. So I learned how to play drums and guitars over there, and started playing with a friend, a drummer friend who was a friend of mine since kindergarten. We started playing in junior high, and then I had a rock band all the way through high school and college. Interestingly enough, we've gotten back together again and are recording some music.
No way.
Yeah.
High school, college band?
Yeah, it's all four of us in high school. Then it was three of us in college, but the four of us got back as Zoomtown Reunion, and we've already released a bunch of stuff on Bandcamp.
Excellent.
You can find us there.
We'll link to that in the show notes. That's great. All right. So Zoomtown Reunion was your start, and then at some point you must have gotten the bug for acoustic music. How did that come about?
Yeah, well, I moved down to Minneapolis and did a band called Best Fight Story. We put out 3 all-original rock and roll CDs. And then at the dawn of the century, about the 2000s, I got into bluegrass. I always liked it. Always liked folk music. I was a huge Bob Dylan fan. So I really loved folk music, and I liked listening to bluegrass, but I didn't really know how to play it. And then I started going to some of the Minnesota Bluegrass and Old Time Music Association events and the festivals, and I just fell in love with the idea of jamming and playing all this music with people you don't even know, and the community that that revolves around that, and just the simplicity of bluegrass. Bluegrass is really simple, yet it's as hard as you want it to be.
Right. It can get pretty hard.
It sure can, yeah. It can be very sophisticated, but but at the same time, it's very simple. It's folk music.
Yeah.
And just started playing in a band that you may have heard of, Anthony Ihrig, a band called the High 48s.
Oh, yes. Why? As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
full disclosure, folks, I was part of that inception of the High 48s at the time.
Yeah, you and I are a couple of the original members, and along with my brother Chad, and of course Eric Christopher and Rich Casey. And then in 2011, Monroe Crossing came calling. They, at the time, well, and still are pretty much a full-time operation, and so that took me all over the country, doing over 100 shows a year, and we've done multiple tours of Europe, been into Canada, even have been into South Korea.
Wow. You've been a lot of places. Bluegrass has taken you a lot of places, but
It sure has, yeah.
but somehow throughout all that, you had a store of songs that you wanted to put out as a solo record. How did where did these songs come from that we're going to listen to today, and how did this album come about?
Sure. These songs, some of them were written by me even before I was in Monroe Crossing, and they just didn't quite fit the band. Little harder edge songs, perhaps. Some of the songs were cover songs that I had jammed on for years, but have never done a recording of, and then some were brand new songs that I wrote. And we got all shut down in 2020 with the COVID.
Oh, yeah.
So, boy, that gave me the free time to really put together this collection. Of course, I did it all backwards. Didn't meet with hardly, any of the musicians. We just kind of discussed things through email, a little bit of Zoom chats. I would send them guide tracks and tracks that I'd already recorded. They'd send me their parts back. So I just we discussed arrangements and whatnot, but I just kind of let them do their thing and see what happened.
Right on. Well, the net result here is this album I'm holding up to the screen if you're watching. It's called Hard Life. It came out in 2021 after all that recording during 2020, and I think it's time for some music. And the first track we have lined up is the title track, Hard Life. Anything you want to say about this before we give it a spin?
It was written during COVID. Thus the title, Hard Life.
All right. So this one was actually written as you were putting this album together. Great. Well, we are really excited to get into the music. If you're out there listening and have questions or comments for Derek while we're spinning the track, please put it in the real-time chat. We'd love to hear from you. But while we're waiting for that, we're going to give it a spin. This is Derek David Johnson, Hard Life, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
It's a hard life, doing what you do. It's a hard life, trying to make it through. It's a hard life, it's sad but it's true. It's a hard life, but I'm glad I'm living it with you. When the bad news comes to town, turns your whole world upside down. There is nothing you can say troubled times away, 'cause it's a hard life, doing what you do. It's a hard life, trying to make it through. It's a hard life, it's sad but it's true. It's a hard life, but I'm glad I'm living it with you. And round, and all that spinning knocks you down. For a while it goes away, come around another day. 'Cause it's a hard life, doing what you do. It's a hard life, trying to make it through. It's a hard life, it's sad but it's true. It's a hard life, but I'm glad I'm living it with you. higher ground. Cover your ears and scream away. I'll join you on the ricochet. 'Cause it's a hard life, doing what you do. It's a hard life, trying to make it through. It's a hard life, it's sad but it's true. It's a hard life, but I'm glad I'm living it with you. It's a hard life, oh, doing what you do. It's a hard life, trying to make it through. It's a hard life, it's sad but it's true. It's a hard life, but I'm glad I'm living it with you. It's a hard life, but I'm glad I'm living it with you.
Yeah, that is Derek David Johnson with Hard Life, the title track off of his 2021 release of the same name. And man, there's some great picking on that track. Why don't you tell us about who's picking and playing with you on that one?
Sure. Well, when I had the opportunity to do this, I didn't really have a band. I had a whole bunch of people I knew that I loved and always wanted to work with. So I have 19 different guest musicians on this album.
Nice.
With my friend Jamie Guy, plays a banjo on that. He's really good, traditional bluegrass banjo player and a character and a half. Rena Rossi from AJ and Rena and the Steam Machine.
Yeah.
And she plays bass, rock solid bass player. She's great. And then that fiddle came all the way from Switzerland. Katie Jo Bidell, who's from Minnesota, has been living in Switzerland for a few years now. So that came all the way. Yeah, Katie Jo is good. She's not only good, she's outstanding.
Yeah, Severin chimed in. Yeah, and it's unmistakable style.
I know. It made me smile listening to her play that. I hadn't listened to this for a while. So we've been playing this one in Monroe Crossing. So, of course, it's different than the recording. So it was fun to hear.
Yeah. Well, it sounds great. And it's really, surprising to hear how well it gels, knowing that this was just people sending files over the internet. Wiley chimed in and said, loving the groove on this one.
Well,
and,
that's good to hear.
Yeah. And I was too. I was digging it. And, I was thinking about just having participated in this project myself. Like when you're doing it at home, it's hard to do that. But I think it's a testament to the songs and also to, players who are listening and kind of understand the genre. Like clearly, everybody you've enlisted know this music back and front and backwards, and it really came together great. Now, how did you put it all together? I mean, you got all the 19 musicians sending you tracks here and there.
Sure.
Did you just get a big folder full of files and have to piece it all together yourself, or did you get some help mixing it and making it more of a cohesive sound?
I was very confused half the time until I developed a method. By the end of the record, I had pretty good method together. With digital recording, it's so you can just easily replace things. You can't wear out a tape, so you can do a track 100 times. So I would make these guide tracks, and then I would tighten up the guide tracks by redoing it. One thing I didn't do, and one thing I don't like doing, just because I don't have the patience for it and I don't like the way it sounds, is I didn't do a lot of editing. I didn't go in there and snip and clip and move things around. But I would redo like the rhythm guitar part, I don't know how many times. And then once I had it and people added stuff, I thought, okay, well, I can loosen up now on the guitar part because now I have a bass and a mandolin chop going. So now I can redo my guitar again. So there was a lot of redoing of tracks, but I usually would hit record and play it all the way through with very little editing. So it kind of keeps that live feel. It's not perfect, which
maybe is why it has the groove, right? It has like a little humanity behind it. Interesting. And I wonder if the fact that you were coming back after you got some of those kind of basic tracks down, maybe your guitar and your vocals and stuff could now fill in the pocket, right? Could connect all the dots.
Sure felt that way. It sure felt that, because at first the guide tracks were real stiff because I would record it to a click track. So that, it would just be a boom chuck, very robotic. And then I would add a mandolin chop and make that as, on time, but very boring. And then after we got that foundation, after I knew there wasn't any bad timing issues, or at least timing issues I could live with.
Right.
Then I go back and replace those parts again with something more musical.
Awesome. Well, it really sounds great. And if
Thanks.
you're liking what you hear, we've got a couple ways you can support Derek. We'll be talking about throughout the program. But one way is buying the record. And Derek's got a website, DerekJohnsonBluegrass.com. It's scrolling across the screen. I will throw that in the comments as well. So if you're liking what you hear, you can head on over there and check out his music. But I want to make sure we get to all the songs if we can today. I got so many things I want to talk about and say. But let's. I would love to move forward now with the next one, because I know there's a story behind this one. The Ballad of the First Minnesota Volunteers. It sounds a bit like a little history lesson. What can you tell us about this one?
I'm a big, huge history buff, and one of the tours that Monroe Crossing. Well, actually, Monroe Crossing had a couple different tours planned. One out east, and then one in the Midwest. And instead of driving with the band this time, I decided to drive myself and take some time in between and do some traveling on my own. And I finally got to the Gettysburg Battlefield out in Pennsylvania. And boy, it's an amazing sight just to be standing and in these spots where these historical events occurred, and they preserved it so well, and it tells the story of that battle so well. And I was standing there and found myself right next to a big monument to the First Minnesota Volunteers, and they were one of the first group of soldiers to sign up for the Civil War on the Union side. And they have a really harrowing story from that battle, pretty chilling. And some of the words from this song come straight from the inscription on the memorial to them. And it's such a moving story. And being from Minnesota, it really hit home. So I thought I'd better write them a song and try to, spread that story farther than maybe it has already. So just a way to. It's a little history lesson.
I love it. Had you heard of this story or this incident before you stumbled upon the monument?
Not really. No, not. I knew that they played a part in the battle, but I didn't know the details of it. And so, of course, I looked up more details, and I've been singing it for a while. This one had stage time with Monroe Crossing, and every once in a while you'd get some from audience, coming up and say, "Oh, you might want to check this part out. You may not have been as historically accurate." There's only one. There's really only one inaccuracy, and that is I don't refer to it as an army. I refer to it as a New York Brigade, which isn't quite true, but it rhymes. It fits the lyrics better. So I'm sorry. I had to sacrifice a little bit of truth for the art on this one.
Yeah, sometimes that's what you got to do to get the story across. Well, I'm excited to take a listen to it. This is Derek David Johnson, Ballad of the First Minnesota Volunteers, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
At Gettysburg, Devil Dan lost his mind. He marched his New York Brigade, a mile in front of the Union line. The devil, he was proud. He had his own plan of attack. But after a little while, the devil's men came running back. Cemetery Ridge, it was the center of it all. And now the Union line was threatening to fall. General Hancock was determined. No, he could not lose the day. He needed a little more time before it all slipped away. was knocking on the Yankees' door. General Wilcox and his grays washed up like waves upon the shore. That's when the boys from Minnesota heard their number called. They formed a battle line and they ran into that wall. Every man knew what the order meant. Death and destruction to the entire regiment. They ran into that horror to save a little time. Time to say your prayers and try to hold the Union line. They ran on down that hill when Colonel Colville gave the call, and in a few minutes' time, most of them would fall. Their colors fell 5 times, 5 times it rose again. 47 men remain to see reinforcements come marching in. Every man knew what the order meant. Death and destruction to the entire regiment. They ran into that horror to save a little time. Time to say your prayers and try to hold the Union line. They all said their prayers and they held the Union line.
Derek David Johnson with the Ballad of the First Minnesota Volunteers off of his 2021 solo release, Hard Life. And wow, that is a powerful story and one that I really actually hadn't heard before. So such a great thing that you could put it into song and kind of keep spreading that history. Wow, I can't imagine what it must have been like for that group. You mentioned playing this, for people who have, a little Civil War history and stuff like that. Did you run into any stories or anybody who had more to add to it after you started playing it out live?
That's a good question. Not in so much the details, but a lot of vets have really showed their appreciation, and some people, the 47 who survived the battle and remained standing at the end of that kind of almost suicide attack. That became the 47th Regiment. I can't remember, but it's like the current one of the current National Guard units.
Wow!
So that legacy of that 1st Minnesota has turned into the 47th, and they're a National Guard unit. So I've had people from that unit who served in that unit come up and thank me, and a lot of veterans who have thanked me.
Well, that's a really wonderful way to honor that kind of sacrifice, and a reminder too for all of us what had to happen to get where we are today. Yeah. And people were loving it. Wiley says, "I'm hearing a little Warren Zevon vocal styling."
Oh wow!
That's a great compliment, Wiley. And our friend Becky Schlegel is in the house. Hello from Rochester. Killer tune, Derek. Thanks, Becky.
Thanks, Becky.
Yeah. So Warren Zevon, was there a little bit of that in your background?
Boy, by accident. No, not a lot. Actually, I've gotten into Warren more recently.
Okay.
I picked up some of his records more recently. I got a turntable.
Nice.
After years and years of not having any really home stereo system, I've gone back to records, and I've had so much fun finding used records. It's
Welcome,
just been
Derek.
oh man, it's great. So I've actually got into Warren Zevon the last few years, and he's great. I love his stuff. So
Well,
I wear that compliment on my sleeve.
all right. Thanks, Wiley, for that. And Diane's chiming in, says, hello from southwestern Michigan. Great to have you here with us, Diane. If you're just tuning in, we are with Derek David Johnson, revisiting his 2021 release, Hard Life, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party. This is musical happy hour where we are enjoying beverages and also conversation. So if you have something to add to the conversation, questions, comments for Derek, throw them in the real-time chat. We'd love to hear from you. It's really what makes this show what it is all the participation and everybody coming in.
Yeah. You know what? I'd like to add who played on that last one.
Yeah.
Because they're all different musicians for all these. I had Craig Evans on the banjo, the Fralin banjo.
Yeah, a little clawhammer in there.
Well, he's not only an amazing clawhammer player, he's probably one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Kim Rowe from the Rowe Family Singers sang on the backgrounds on that. David Toudsley on bass, and Dr. Tom Schaefer on the fiddle.
Man, all-star cast.
Yeah.
That's
really
amazing. Fun. And I love how you had clawhammer on a tune, like a Civil War tune. Yeah. Was that intentional? Like, I want this one to be a little more of a older sound?
Yeah. I wanted that to have a pre-bluegrass sound.
Nice.
Yep.
And Severin chimed in, Kim Rowe. And we'll say, not only are these great musicians that you brought in, but almost all of them are alum of the back catalog. The Rowe Family Singers were our very first guest. Kim and Quillen, some of the best people anywhere in the whole wide world. Yeah. And show number 2, they're our first guests on this program. And we're just so grateful that we can continue to showcase musicians like them. And if you're interested in supporting musicians like them, independent musicians like Derek and the Rose and everybody who played on this record, we highly recommend that you purchase the music. Derek mentioned getting into vinyl. The album format is whatever people say about it, it's not dead. There's people like us that like this idea of like a book, cover to cover. The sequencing is a major thing that artists hem and haw about when they put together a record, because it's all part of a kind of a bigger story that usually artists want to tell in that time. And there's a beginning and a middle and an end. And all of that matters to us here on the Back Catalog Listening Party. And if it matters to you, you should go pick up this record from Derek. It's DerekJohnsonBluegrass.com. You'll hear all of the tracks in the order that he intended, and you'll have all these liner notes here. I'm holding the CD up here that lists all the different musicians that played on the album, and it also sounds really good. There are a lot of people that maybe haven't listened to high resolution files in a while, like a vinyl or a high resolution digital file, but it really sounds better. And so not only could you be supporting Derek by picking it up, but then you get to hear all the all those quality ones and zeros that are left out when you're watching it on YouTube or hearing it through the internet. So just wanted to put another plug in for that. And now I want to go on to my personal favorite track on the record. And that's a song called Texas. And I love this song. I'm just going to say that Derek had brought this band to the high 48s when he was in the high 48s. And I absolutely fell in love with this song. It was like my new favorite song. I couldn't wait to play it every night and put it on the next high 48s record. But then one fateful night, at one of the longest standing bluegrass venues in the country at the time, Delano's Pizza. We had an encounter and there was an email exchange, and I was teasing this to our Patreon community in the email before. But Derek, I want to know if you remember what happened.
I do. It was we kind of unveiled the song. We had just started playing it on stage with the high 48s, and got a email the next day. It was from a gentleman who was there with his mother, and he was very offended by this song and the language, because one of the lines is "Hell with you, I'm going to Texas." It's one of the refrain lines. So evidently, HE double hockey sticks is still a very offensive word to some people out there. We had to explain it that this was what Davy Crockett had said to his constituency when they voted him out of office in Tennessee, I do believe. He said, "Hell with you, I'm going to Texas." We had to remind him that, I think at the time, like the Richard Nixon tapes had just come out, and those are loaded with all sorts of crass language. Because I can't remember why we brought that up. He had said something about, I don't know what he was talking about. But Mother was very offended, I think. Was that it? Or
Mother was very upset. I think it was Mother is still upset. And we joked around that I wanted T-shirts, man. I just, High 48's Mother is still upset. Could have been the name of the next record. It was kind of an interesting time. I was thinking about that whole ordeal. And this was at a time kind of, when bluegrass was going through another one of its transitions, as bluegrass has gone through a bunch of transitions. And there was still this idea of kind of like, bluegrass purity, I guess maybe would be for lack of a better term, where, we don't use cuss words and we don't do, there's taboo things. What did you want to say?
Well, sorry, you froze up there and it confused me. It's a lot of different things have changed in bluegrass over the years, and we go from there's still a lot of bluegrass that is family band or gospel only, and then on the other end you have Billy Strings. So
right,
it's changed a lot, but yeah, evidently this was a bad words.
Well, but it really is kind of I think a time and place, because I think it was right around this time that a famous mandolin player, Chris Thiele, had come out with a solo record. He was in Nickel Creek, and he dropped the F-bomb on this record. I don't know if you remember this, and he was going to play, I think, like Telluride Bluegrass Festival or one of these really high-profile festivals, and there was all this controversy. We knew that he was going to play a set of this music, and he was probably going to play this song, but was he going to swear on stage? And there was articles in the Bluegrass News and all that kind of stuff. We're probably boring all the non-bluegrass people, but it was a real thing, and I think it ties into this idea that this song became kind of taboo for the band. But I still love this song. I'm so glad that it made it on the album, and I think you should give people a little bit more of that history of the song, because it's got a great kind of backstory, and there's I think a personal connection with a friend of yours.
Yeah,
in there too.
I alluded to it already. I was going to go visit a friend in Austin, Texas, and I'm a big history buff, so I was doing some Texas history, and of course I got to the Alamo, and that's when I found out why David Crockett was at the Alamo. It's because he was there looking for votes, because he had left, I think it was Tennessee. He got voted out of office. He was a representative. And in his farewell speech, he said, "Hell with you. You can all go to hell because I'm going to Texas." That's what he told his constituency. And so he went to Texas, and he got kind of trapped at the Alamo. Bad timing, really. And so I that was on my mind. But then I was thinking about the friend who I was going to go visit, and the different place. He was also moving to Texas to start over, except for he had a much different personality than Davy Crockett. He more resembled the dude from the Big Lebowski. So It kind of is Davy Crockett meets the dude from the Big Lebowski, as they both try to start over in Texas.
Oh man, I love it. I love this song, and I think you're going to love it too, everybody. This is Derek David Johnson with Texas here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Texas, gonna start a new life before I get too old. Gonna leave behind the pain and all the messes. Gonna lose my bad habits, except for getting stoned. Life, I'm gonna live it to the limit. Where I lay my hat has always been my home. Hell with you, I'm going to Texas. There I live and die on my own. sorrow. Never thought I'd see times that were so low. Living on the streets of old Chicago. Not a penny in my pocket, not a song in my soul. Busted out of there just like a banshee. Bought my own ticket to a one-way journey home. Hell with you, I'm going to Texas. There I live and die on my own. I'd done my time in the city of the angels. Swam against the current, bumped my head up against the stone. Ran the table in all the wrong circles. I let a woman steal my heart until she turned it into stone. It's in the past, I left it all behind me. Never going back now that I've found my own way home. Hell with you, I'm going to Texas. There I live and die on my own.
Oh, yeah. That's Derek David Johnson with Texas from his 2021 record, Hard Life. And I'm with you, Joni. Joni chimed in and said, I'd really like one of those Mother is Still Upset t-shirts.
I think that's a great idea. And that wasn't just me. That also featured you, Mr. Anthony Ihrig, on that amazing 5-string banjo.
Oh, thank you. That was a fun one to do. I had a lot of time on my hands, clearly, at that time.
And Eric Christopher on the fiddle from the High 48s and Rich Casey on the bass. So
yeah, that was so fun to re-listen to that one just now. Oh my goodness. I love that song, and I really think that Davy Crockett meets the Dude from Big Lebowski. That really is just the perfect combination, and a lot of people were loving it. Severin giving it the big hand claps, and if you're loving it, you could also throw a little something in Derek's tip jar. The life of a musician is not an easy one, and we always appreciate when someone throws a little something in the tip jar. And so at the Back Catalog Listening Party, we're putting a virtual one out there, and we're putting Derek's Venmo handle on the screen, and we will put that in the comments as well. If you like what you're hearing, you can throw a little something in his tip jar, or you can head on over to DerekJohnsonBluegrass.com and purchase the record. I think there's nothing that makes an artist feel better than when someone purchases the record, and then you'll get all this wonderful album art, and you'll get all the songs in the liner notes, and most importantly, the high resolution versions of these songs, because it sounds great, man. Again, still remarkable how you were able to make it sound like a band was playing together in a room on this record. How is it like listening back? I know most artists don't listen back to their albums. It's always a little cringy, and I was put on the spot there on that one, actually. Cringing a little bit, but what's going through your mind as you're listening back to this one?
Well, on that one, I was listening to the mandolin playing, which I did, and realized how far I've come along on the mandolin. I had been playing a little bit a few years before this record came out, but it was the making of this record where I was just hammering away on the mandolin.
Yeah.
And I've been playing it a lot since. So it was fun to hear me doing that. Made it all the way through the solo. So that's good. I don't know how many times it took me to come up with that simple solo. But then I've also noticed how it's fun that, since people were emailing me all their tracks, I wasn't using the same room and the same mics and the same board and the same, all the gear, it was just a massive combination of gear. And it's fun to hear how there's a cohesiveness to the sound, even though I don't know how many different mics and rooms and interfaces are used on this
right.
thing.
Well, did you have someone that came in to do any sort of final mixing or mastering, or was that all you?
AJ Shrubus from Steve Machine. I went over to his house and mixed it over there. He has just a real simple basement studio. It's probably more advanced now, but he's got some good studio monitors, and he's had the know-how, and he
good ear.
only lives like a mile away. Yeah. And so we spent some time in his basement and listened to it, just tweaking it. So, yep.
Did he do the mastering as well then?
I know I had Tom Herbers do the mastering.
Oh, nice.
Tom Herbers works with, he does sound for the Cactus Blossoms. He does a lot of recording for Charlie Parr. He's recorded everyone. He started way back out in the day doing Soul Asylum and the Gear Daddies. And, we used to work with him in the rock and roll days too. He's a great guy.
I think the High 48s cut a record with Tom as well.
We sure did. Yeah, the Up North record we worked with Tom.
Yeah,
Yep.
still one of
Great
the
guy.
best sounding albums that we've done. Testament to his abilities. Now, you mentioned playing the mandolin on that one, and I was reading through the liner notes again, and it basically, other than the guest musicians, you did anything else that was there to do? Was there anything else other than guitar and mandolin that you did on
And
this
a lot of the backing vocals.
Okay.
Yep, but no other instruments. I can't saw on a fiddle. I could, but it would drive everyone away.
I feel like the fiddle is one of those instruments that is best left for lifelong fiddle players, like Eric Christopher on that last track, who was sounding sweet. Well, David chimed in to say that he'll be all over purchasing this, but when not until the show ends, because he's not going to leave the show for 1 second. Thank you, David. That is so awesome. And Wiley said the production sounds good. So once again, if you're also enjoying the sounds, you got to pick it up. And we'll have a link to Derek's website in the comments. But we got a couple more songs that we want to get to.
Yeah.
So let's move forward here. The next track we have is called Graduation Day. What would you like to say about this one?
Well, this is one of the gospel tunes on the CD. Let's see, is that the only gospel tune? No, Clint and I did a old Hazel Dickens tune called "Won't You Come and Sing for Me" as well.
That's a good one.
But this is a gospel tune that I wrote in honor of my uncle, who was a Baptist minister, and unfortunately he passed away. It's been, 9 years now, 8 years now. It's amazing how time flies. But I could not be there for his memorial service. I was traveling with the band. So I wanted to contribute somehow. So I wrote this song. He has had such a positive outlook on life. He didn't when he would preside over a funeral, he didn't call it a funeral. He referred to it as graduation day.
Wow.
So that is where the song comes from. And I think I did everything on this one except for maybe the bass. Bass is David Towsley, and the rest is me.
Wow. Well, what a great tribute. This is Derek David Johnson with Graduation Day here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
This life is but a test as we follow God's plan from one moment to the next and live a life that's true. Do unto others like you want them to do to you, and then you'll find you've made it through another year with a passing grade. On graduation day, our soul will be called away to live forevermore on Jordan's brilliant shore. Nevermore in pain on graduation day. It's not as hard as it sounds. Follow his word, spread the love around, tell others the good news, how Jesus shed his blood for you. And when your homework is done, you'll join the Spirit, the Father and the Son. On graduation day, our soul will be called away to live forevermore on Jordan's brilliant shore. Nevermore in pain on graduation day. We'll meet again, I say, on graduation day.
Derek David Johnson with Graduation Day here on the Back Catalog Listening Party. That was beautiful, Derek.
Thank you.
I love that idea too of graduation, and I loved how you played with that theme in the lyrics. And Severin says beautiful. I agree.
Thank you, Severin. I can tell you my aunt really loves it.
I bet. That's really that's a great sentiment, and what a wonderful tune. What a wonderful hour this has been already, Derek. Thank you so much for being here, and want to thank everybody else for being here as well. I can't believe how quickly it's gone. We got about 10 minutes left in the show, and I'm just want to thank everybody who's been here today already. If you have any last-minute questions or comments for Derek, please put them in the real-time chat so we can try to catch it before we're done. And we got a couple more comments already. Becky Schlegel, our friend Becky, says lovely, and Tommy T says nice. Agreed. And I want to make sure that I have a chance to thank a very special group of people that are keeping the show going every week, and that would be our Patreon community. We started this around probably the time you started this record, Derek.
Yeah.
And we are all searching for something, and I think that something was connection. And music is one of those things that brings people together, even from afar. And we were so grateful when we started doing this that people were really into it. And when the world started opening up after, the pandemic started subsiding a little bit, there's a group of people that stuck with us and said, you know what, we'd love for you to keep playing old records and talking about them and having people on the show. And we said, okay, that's amazing. So we want to thank our Patreon community: Penny, Ann, Alinda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Alan, Chris, Alex, Becky, Peggy, Joe, Jim, Beverly, John, Fred, Tim, Sarah, David, Jocelyn, Matt, Steve, Mark, Homestead Pick and Parlor, Severin, Lynn, Mary, Many Tracks, Nikki, Joni, David, CJ, Wiley, Stephanie, Christy, Diane, and Hetty, and maybe you, if you're interested in being part of this little music community. We'd love to have you. We do this every week because you enable us to do that, and it really is our honor. We try to throw some perks out to our Patreon community as well. We have VIP after parties where we hang out with guests sometimes after the show and keep the party going. And we also have special concerts that we do. We've got our back catalog listening party pint glass that we still have a few of those left. So if you're interested, you can find more information at backcatalog.listeningparty.com or at Patreon, and we'll put a link in the comments as well. But really just thank you for being here to support independent artists like Derek. And speaking of supporting independent artists like Derek, the world is opened back up, and there are actual physical concerts happening, and you happen to have a physical concert happening this weekend, Derek. Where is that?
Sure. I also, aside from Monroe Crossing, I play in a little duo called Gentleman Dreadnought.
Nice.
With everybody's favorite guitar player, Clint Bertzer.
Yeah.
And so Clint and I are going to be at... Yeah.
That's for you, Clint.
We will be at Carboni's in South Minneapolis on Cedar Avenue tomorrow night, Saturday, the 8th of June. And we'll be playing from 7 to 9.
Awesome. So, any Twin Cities folks that are listening, you gotta, if you have a chance, you can hear Derek and Clint Burtzer play all these songs and many more at Carboni's Pizza in South Minneapolis. I'm going to throw that in the show notes. And your band Monroe Crossing has a boatload of gigs. You guys are always working and touring around, but you have a special one you wanted to highlight today.
Yeah, we have a very busy summer, but at the end of the summer, we will be back at the State Fair at the Leinenkugel Lodge, Leinie's Lodge, Leinenkugel Grandstand Stage, and on September 1st and 2nd, Labor Day, Sunday and Monday, in the mornings. Come on out early. It's the best time to go to the fair.
And if you're not from Minnesota, the State Fair is quite a big deal here. It really is. It's just an institution, and it's something that everybody knows about. So I'm going to put links to both Monroe Crossing and Gentleman Dreadnought in the show notes so that you can find that. But I did want to get to Severin had a quick question here that I think is
Okay.
one I'd be kind of curious about too. Severin said, "Are you planning another solo project, Derek?"
Well, I am, but not bluegrass necessarily. I've been doing some solo shows where I've been kind of doing more folk music and some songs that I wrote from the past back in my rock and roll days and the folk rock days, and some new songs that I've written that don't fit into the bluegrass genre. So I've been doing solo performances under Derek David Johnson, and I am working on some of that material, and I want to get another project out. I'm not sure when because we're all busy again, running around playing shows. But I have a studio at home, and it's just me on a guitar, maybe a few other instruments. So it can't take that much work, right?
Well, Severin says that's great to hear, and I 100% agree with that, Severin. We're all excited for more original music from you, Derek. And people were loving the episode. Wiley said, great episode. Thanks, Derek and Anthony. And Connie said, tremendous show, a real privilege. Thank you. Joni said, too quickly. Yes, it did go by too quickly. Well, thank you all for being here. This is what it's all about, hanging out together and enjoying music as a community. That's really what it's all about. And we thank you guys for being here. And we want to get one more song in before the episode is over. And the last song we're going to have to take us out is North Dakota Wind. Anything you want to say about this one before we give it a spin?
Yeah, this is a brand new one, one that had no stage time because it had been written. I wrote a little bit of it throughout the years. It took me forever to write the lyrics to this song. Finally finished it in time to put it on this record. And this time I had the full High 48s band with me. So you, Anthony, on the banjo, Eric on the fiddle again, Rich on the bass, and Clint Burtzer plays the mandolin, sings the tenor on this one. Yeah, this is North Dakota Wind. I grew up in the Fargo-Moorhead area on the Minnesota side of the Red River, but close enough to the prairie land out there in North Dakota where we had plenty of North Dakota wind.
All right. Well, it's a great way to kick off our weekend here and finish up our show today. This is Derek David Johnson, North Dakota Wind, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Our time is done, no doubt about it. This time she really means it. You know I should have seen it. Loving her was my original sin. Now she's blown away like a North Dakota wind. I guess it's plain she never loved me, always stood above me. Now she lives without me. Loving her only did me in. Now she's drifted away like a North Dakota wind. Now there's no all over before it ever began. Now she's drifted away like a North Dakota wind. Now there's no use in crying, no need denying the love she had was nothing short of lying. It was just a game I could never win. Now I'm standing alone in a North Dakota wind. Now there's no need denying, there's no room for crying. The love she had was nothing short of dying. It was just a game I could never win. Now I'm standing alone in a North Dakota wind. Standing alone in a North Dakota wind. Gonna stand my ground in this North Dakota wind.
Derek David Johnson, North Dakota Wind. This is off his 2021 release, Hard Life, a wonderful CD. Go and pick it up. Get the high-resolution files at Derek's website, derekjohnsonbluegrass.com. Derek, thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Thanks for having me, Anthony. It was a lot of fun.
It is fun. I sure miss hanging with you, man. We used to spend lots of time together when you were in the high 48s, and this was a real treat. And I know that my co-host Ellen Stanley would have been really bummed to have missed this show, and she is hopefully enjoying wonderful weather up on the North Shore of Lake Superior as we speak. But on behalf of Ellen and myself and our Patreon community, thanks, Derek, and thanks all of you for showing up again on a Friday for the back catalog listening party. This is a special hour for us every week, and it's all because you show up. Music is best served with others, and we're so glad you were here with us today. So until next week, we'll see you here on the back catalog listening party. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.